It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. One of the things that irritates so many people in Southern California is the fact that we cannot figure out a solution for what seems like a problem that should be fixable. And that problem is a bunch of jackasses that get together thanks to social media, take over a street, start doing donuts, start lighting things on fire, start looting and crashing into people. They happen constantly all over Southern California. They happen in the Valley almost as often as they happen in South LA. They especially happen in unincorporated parts of LA County because there's a lot of confusion as to whose jurisdiction that is. But the idea here is there's so much criminal activity at once that it's overwhelming. The police cannot amass a force big enough and fast enough to be able to take this down. So a lot of times they let it go. Maybe they capture some license plates and they'll go fight it another day. But every effort that we have seen so far to take down the street takeovers has been fairly ineffective. But that hasn't stopped our local leaders from trying new things, including in Sylmar, where, okay, maybe we can't arrest everyone. Maybe we can't shut down social media, which I don't really understand how we're even allowing people to profit off the filming of criminal activity on social media, but I don't know exactly who's responsible for that one. In Sylmar, they've come up with a little different idea. What if we change the design of all the streets so it's impossible to do donuts? Will that be successful? Well, let's find out. Here's a report from NBC4.
Well, several intersections in Sylmar are getting a facelift, but it's not really for looks. It's to stop street racing and street takeovers in its tracks.
Now, this is all part of an initiative spearheaded by LA City Council member Monica Rodriguez.
I got to say, Monica Rodriguez has come out as one of the more common sense members of that council. And that's saying something.
NBC4's Lauren Coronado is live in Sylmar to explain how these new safety measures will work. So you talked to Monica Rodriguez directly.
Yeah, Lynette, I sure did. In fact, I met her at this intersection that we're at right now. She says this has been identified of one of at least 20 dangerous intersections where they've seen a lot of these street takeovers. You can see some of the safety measures in place already. We're on the corner of Bradley and Bledsoe, by the way, here in Sylmar. You're looking at those raised paint and bollards. It's part of a pilot program the councilwoman has been working on for years.
We have to change the behavior. And this is a simple way and a cost-effective way for us to try and introduce that.
So since we cannot seem to stop this activity entirely, what if we change the way the road looks like so it would be much more difficult to do crazy stunts and donuts and all that other nonsense? It's a novel idea, but there is one problem. Unless you're going to do it to every intersection, they're just going to go to a different one.
Councilwoman Rodriguez says this street takeover on Polk and Glen Oaks in 2021 is just one reason she started the pilot. A car slammed into a restaurant, causing really costly damage. Thankfully, while they were closed, or it could have been much worse. She also says there was a deadly crash at this intersection. It was the first spot to get these safety measures installed in 2023. And neighbors say it appears to be working.
I definitely hear people like revving and like drifting here less at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't hear it as often?
No.
They still hear it, just not all the time. You know, some streets you're just going to hear revving no matter what, whether it's street takeovers or I lived on Sherman Way for a while, and it doesn't matter what part of Sherman Way you're on. At midnight, some jackasses are street racing, and you hear the revving go through, and it's one of the reasons I don't live on Sherman Way anymore.
Yeah, the council.
I like being on a tiny little cul-de-sac street in a neighborhood where hopefully that crap doesn't happen.
Yeah, the councilwoman is working with the LAPD and the Department of Transportation to identify problem spots. She says the LAPD alone just can't keep up with enforcement with more and more street takeover incidents, which is why she's hoping.
Yeah, when several of these happen in one night, there's just never going to be enough force to actually take them down. Now, can we coordinate, maybe get the CHP involved, maybe get the National Guard involved and block every single exit of an intersection and make some mass arrests? Well, I do love that idea, but I just don't see that happening in Los Angeles because we don't want to use a term that is always used at city council or the board of supervisors, arrest our way out of this problem.
Which is why she's hoping this joint effort really helps. And so far, it looks like it is after talking with some of the neighbors who live in the area. And she says this is just the beginning. She hopes to start seeing more of these safety measures in place in a few other intersections.
So change the infrastructure of the street. Make it so it is impossible to do donuts. That is one solution. Though the way you make that work is you have to do it to every single street because that specific intersection going to help out those residents there. But they'll go one street over. They'll go one street over. Every pilot program that has tested this throughout the state of California has run into that same issue. So do we have the funding to be able to do this for every single intersection? Or is there something else we can do? Is there a smarter way to take down the street takeovers? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you were in charge of this county, if you were in charge of law enforcement, how would you stop street takeovers? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If it's with infrastructure, that's one thing that we're trying. LA County, specifically unincorporated parts of South LA County, run by Holly Mitchell, are trying a different strategy. Increasing the fines.
The LA County.
Here's KTLA.
The LA County Board of Supervisors has just passed a proposal that would apply tougher penalties for people participating in illegal street takeovers.
Today's unanimous vote means the board supports the change, but they still need to vote to adopt the amendments.
And that'll be in a couple months. So you got a few months to go crazy.
Rachel Medetov live in downtown LA with the latest. Rachel.
Micah Scher, this is essentially a way to stop the street takeovers before they start, to impose a hefty fine on anyone involved, whether you decide to get behind the wheel of the car or are simply there to watch.
Okay, novel idea. Doubling the fines for people that get caught or people that get arrested or ticketed or detained, what have you. But we're not seeing a lot of that to begin with. So how exactly are you going to enforce this if we're outnumbered and you can't even safely send in the police to break one of these events up?
Screeching tires, high-speed donuts. It's become a staple of LA's illegal street takeovers, which often draw large crowds of spectators and in some cases have had deadly consequences.
Yes, people have died from the violent crashes. There has been destruction of businesses because people get so amped up from the illegal activity, they start lighting cars on fire and then breaking into 7-Elevens.
But county officials are trying to curb the appeal and put a stop to the dangerous driving spectacles. In September, 3 cars attempting a takeover crashed into a Metro bus in the Vermont Vista neighborhood.
Just another regular day on Metro.
Another time, a pickup truck lost control driving into a crowd in Gramercy Park. These are just a few examples of what Supervisor Holly Mitchell says are often weekly occurrences, especially in some of the county's unincorporated neighborhoods.
If you live in unincorporated LA County, Holly Mitchell or Hilda Solis, they're your direct line of government. And that usually doesn't work out very well.
When I hear from seniors and others and young families who say, Supervisor Mitchell, every weekend, every Friday, every Saturday.
Okay, first off, they're not addressing you as Supervisor Mitchell. Maybe they're calling you Holly, or maybe they're just saying, hey, you.
When I hear from seniors and others and young families who say, Supervisor Mitchell, every weekend, every Friday, every Saturday night, we hear it and we hear the sounds and it's coming closer and closer to our homes.
She's now leading the charge to double misdemeanor fines to $1,000 for people who organize, promote, and attend these kind of events.
That'll do it. Double the fines of the people that we can't seem to arrest to begin with. How exactly is that going to be the deterrent here? Especially when these people that organize this stuff and put it on are making thousands of dollars on social media, which I don't understand that to begin with. But good luck going after Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram.
She's now leading the charge to double misdemeanor fines to $1,000 for people who organize, promote, and attend these kind of events. Her proposal prohibits the takeovers beyond public highways to include off-street parking areas.
It wasn't already against the law to do this anywhere?
It goes after the...
And by the way, I don't even want to hear the nonsense that people like Barbara Ferrer say of, well, we need a safe place for people to do this. This is not about Sunday Fun Day car enthusiasts, bumper car shows, all that nonsense. This is about illegal activity. This is about people living on the edge, breaking the law, rebelling against the system, crashing cars, doing donuts, and lighting things on fire.
It goes after the promoters, too, those people who are publicizing the takeovers on social media and who gain a large following by streaming the action live.
So we're going to go after all those accounts, and we're going to track those people down, and we're going to fine them $1,000? I think they might still do it.
And collect a paycheck in return.
You know, I've
seen how much money can be made on these social media websites from live streaming this content. They're probably making more than that $1,000.
You know, I've covered so many street takeovers. Do you think this will really deter the appeal of the street takeover?
I am hoping it will. I know that there's not one singular solution, but I am really hoping that making you pay at a higher rate for participating.
Yeah, but how many people do we actually arrest with this? What I have seen is that you're so outnumbered and outgunned that you cannot send the police in there safely. Now, you could do what has been done in places like San Joaquin County, where you get a whole task force together. When you see one of these things happen, you use trucks to block off every single intersection, and then you make sure there's no escape. Every person there, whether they're a person that's performing, they're a person that's just watching, they're all getting booked, they're all getting arrested, all of their cars are getting towed, and they're all getting impounded. And this is no 30-day or pick it up next weekend. No, your car is impounded until your case is adjudicated, which could be months and months and months. Now, some might say that's a little too strict, but I'll tell you this. You know where you've seen a noticeable drop-off in street takeovers? San Joaquin County.
I hope that, along with our public education efforts.
Okay. Holly. Well, I don't totally oppose the idea of increasing the penalties for street takeovers.
Quite frankly,
I don't think fines are going to do it. And what's definitely not going to do it is you going into the schools and having PSA lectures about how unsafe this is, because they're not listening to you. So that is a waste of everybody's time.
Chilly Willy.
I love that drop.
I hope that, along with our public education efforts, for people to understand the true danger they are causing.
Every kid gets shown red asphalt before they get a driver's license. Has that stopped them from being the worst drivers out there? No.
Their own family, friends, and neighbors and communities.
According to statistics from SAFE, streets are for everyone. The last quarter of 2024 saw a 64% increase in street takeovers, with some neighborhoods.
And I think you'll remember this. We talked about this about a couple months ago. That group, Streets Are For Everyone.
Streets Are For Everyone.
They're the ones that went to the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'm not making this up. They said the reason we're seeing this massive spike in street takeovers is the Fast and the Furious franchise and Vin Diesel movies. And then Holly Mitchell said it was because of Grand Theft Auto, the video game, not the crime that you see every single day during a high-speed chase. Nonsense.
Streets are for everyone. The last quarter of 2024 saw a 64% increase in street takeovers, with some neighborhoods seeing multiple events in the same night.
And we can't continue to see these casualties, these injuries, these individuals continue to wreak havoc.
And within the hour, the vote passed 3-0. There were 2 board members who were not present. There is one more vote required to approve some amended language. That's the very latest from downtown LA. I'm Rachel Menitoff. Share Micah, back to you.
So there's 2 different approaches to quote unquote crack down on street takeovers, something that plagues every part of Los Angeles County, whether it's the unincorporated areas, the smaller cities, places like Carson or Compton, downtown LA, the San Fernando Valley. They're happening all over the place. They're happening every weekend. In Sylmar, one LA City Council person thought, okay, what we need to do is change the infrastructure, put up bollards, and put up different designs in the intersection so it's impossible to do donuts without wrecking your car. In South LA, Supervisor Holly Mitchell says what we need to do is increase the fines. That's going to do it. I don't know. What I'd love to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222, is if you have a better idea. We do this about once a quarter as we try to get your best ideas of how we end the plague of street takeovers in Los Angeles County. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Do you have a better idea how to crack down on street takeovers than increasing the fines or putting up bollards? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How would you crack down on street takeovers if you were in charge? 800-222-KABC. Get on the line right now. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Different officials in LA County are trying to figure out how to stop all the street takeovers where they do the donuts and light things on fire and crash into buildings and loot 7-Elevens. In Sylmar, Monica Rodriguez is putting up bollards that make it harder to do donuts in the intersections. In South LA, Holly Mitchell says, well, let's increase the fines and have a bunch of seminars in high schools to tell the kids how bad this is. Do you have a better idea? How would you crack down on street takeovers in Los Angeles if you were in charge? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Andrew in Long Beach. Andrew, hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Hello?
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know what the current laws are, but immediately impound their cars if they're caught doing any of this stuff. Keep it for 2 to 3 months, and when they want it back, have them pay a $10,000 fine.
I think that's one way. What would be interesting to find out is how many of the cars that participate in these things are stolen to begin with.
Well, impound it, and they can get it back to the proper owner.
I think that's one thing we got to do. I think impounding is a great idea. Now, thanks so much for the call. One of the problems with that is our impound lots are full. Just listen to how difficult it is to impound the RVs that are plaguing the streets because there's no room. So they auction them off and then they get bought back and get put back onto the system. But I love the idea and we should make more room. But yeah, impound every car that's available. Get all the tow truck companies involved on one night. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Errol in Newport Beach. Errol, hello.
Hi, Randy.
Hey.
Money caused all this. In the 50s and 60s, we had about 6 drag strips in Orange and L.A. County. We used to go to Lions all the time for $5. You go run your car. But property got so expensive, they got rid of all of them.
I mean, there are places where people can, witness racing. There's still, Urbandale's going away, but there's Paris. There's not enough of these places, but I don't know. I think the people that attend these events, it's not so much about cars doing stunts as it's about illegal activity and lighting things on fire and shooting guns into the air.
Yeah, that's a little overboard.
Yeah, a little different from the drag days, I'd say so.
Yeah, you could go out to Lions back in the 60s at $5 you could run a car through.
Yeah, we don't have that these days. I don't know how you'd ever insure something like that. Thanks so much for the call, Arrow. Appreciate it. And every single time the Board of Supervisors has a meeting about this, there's always someone that's like, well, we need to have a legal place for people to go do donuts. Who's going to insure that? 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. If you were in charge, how would you crack down on street takeovers? Holly Mitchell wants to increase the fines. Monica Rodriguez wants to put up bollards. Do you have a better idea? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. How would you crack down on street takeovers in Southern California? If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to your calls next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com, and search for the KABC News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. Everyone's trying to figure out how to stop these street takeovers that cause mayhem and destruction in Southern California, specifically Los Angeles. Monica Rodriguez of the LA City Council wants to put up bollards to make it more difficult to do donuts in intersections. But that means you're going to have to do that in every intersection. Holly Mitchell says what's going to do it is fines and PSAs in schools. If you were in charge, what would you do to take down the street takeovers? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Matt in Covina. Matt, hello.
Hi, Randy. Hey, the police need to do their jobs. They need spike strips and the tow trucks. And the tow trucks, they'd have a field day towing all that stuff. And there's no money in towing RVs, but this is a big payday. And once they get their cars towed, impounded, they're not going to get them back probably. Nobody wants to lose their car. So once you did this a few times, that would be it. But they got to lay down the law and enforce it. Thanks.
I love the spike strips idea, especially, you put you make sure that the intersection's blocked off so no innocent bystander accidentally drives over them. But everyone that got in there cannot get out. Good luck running away from this. I think that's a great idea, Matt. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Bill in L.A. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, one of the issues you got to worry about there, like his idea, was the negligence issue and what can happen as a result. And this is California, so if I hurt myself doing whatever in this state, I can sue the state or whoever put that thing in there for my injuries. And those cases go in favor of the plaintiff all the time. So I don't think that's the right idea. And how about if we could do it without a bunch of cops having to go up there, a bunch of tow trucks, a bunch of assets utilized, just have a bunch of water trucks that we already have at Caltrans, have those guys ready to respond every evening, and they show up to the intersection and just douse it and ruin their fun. Because those guys can't do burnouts, they can't do controlled spins, they can't do anything if it's all wet.
That is fantastic and simple and cost effective. I love it. We need you in local office, Bill.
Anyway, that's just my idea, but it's a good
I think
place
that's
to
a great
start.
one. I think that's something we should definitely consider. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Caesar in Carson. Caesar, hello.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
Doing great.
All right. My idea is they should go to all the construction sites and empty their empty dumps and pump all those fish into the crowds. That will disperse them really fast. Either that and freeway takeovers too, they will disperse in seconds flat.
Drop a real big stink bomb on them.
That's right.
And then someone's going to have to clean that up so the neighborhood didn't have to deal with that. But I love where you're going with this. Thanks so much for the call, Caesar. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Major in Compton. Major, hello.
What's going on, man? Nice topic today, man. Had me calling in. I'm an Uber driver. And
Glad to have you, buddy.
I see these takeovers so often every night, and it's horrible. But what I would suggest is, instead of giving them a fine that they're not going to pay, and if they can pay, they're not going to pay, just go ahead and just revoke their driver's license. Just like a high-speed car chase person, they get their driver's license revoked. Just go ahead and revoke their license. If they don't have license, well, you still revoke it. They can't never get driver's license. That's what I would do.
I think that's a really great idea because driving is not a right, it's a privilege, and you've shown that you have no respect for people's safety. So why should we ever trust you behind the wheel again? I think that's a really great idea.
Permanent.
You're banned from a driver's
Permanent.
license,
Make
which
it
also
fair.
means you're make yourself uninsurable as well. No one's going to touch you, and good luck ever buying a car. I love it, Major. Thanks so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. Call anytime. Thank you. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. We're starting to cook here, people. I love it. It's a nice little brainstorming session on the News Blitz. Let's go to Thad in San Gabriel. Thad, hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing great.
Hello. Okay.
Hey.
I like to continue on what other people said. Starting the guy from Long Beach, you impound the car and you lose the car just like you were selling drugs. Your car's gone. All the possessions in the car is gone. And it doesn't matter if it was a friend's car or a family's car, that car's gone. Then you have to do 500 hours of community service, cleaning the streets, and let's put a $2,000 fine, and you can't get out of that fine. You lose the car.
I love it.
$1,000 community service, but you got to enforce the laws and do what San Joaquin said. Get all the trucks out there, arrest everybody, and then maybe go after the guys on the social media. You know, it's terrorism.
Think that's all things we got to do. It's total terrorism. That's what we got to do, buddy. I love it, Thad. Thanks so much for the call. Yeah, we have to go after the social media companies. I don't know how we do that. They need to be policing this better. You should not be able to profit on social media off of broadcasting illegal activity. There has to be, I don't know if we need a federal law for that, a state law, but we definitely have to do something. You should not be able to monetize those videos. So that's one thing. Impounding the car and straight up forfeiting the car, I would argue anybody that's doing a street takeover and committing these things that destroy our streets, crash into buildings, all this other nonsense, now you've used your car as a weapon, a deadly weapon. Yeah, it should be forfeited. No longer your property. That's a little strict, but well, that's what you get for being in a street takeover. I think we got some really good ideas here. Let's keep going. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Let's go to Don in Pasadena. Don, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great.
Well, first of all, Holly, whoever the board member is down there, the Holly person, that's not going to work because they're not even paying the traffic fines, their parking tickets. So what makes you think they're gonna increase the fines? That's not going to work. Second thing is you got to have something a little bit more sophisticated, like something with electromagnetic pulse from a satellite that would come in and just shut down all the electrical units, fry their batteries, and then you come in, destroy the cars, and then book them, and they can't come back.
Oh, I love that. Some kind of EMP that fries all the cars so they can't move them. They're stuck there and they're inoperable. That's a great idea. Thanks so much for the call, Don. Appreciate it. Of course, if someone had that technology, it could be used in so many awful ways to anybody. But we're thinking here. We're really starting to think. Let's go to Phil in L.A. Phil, hello.
Well, I think putting obstacles in the intersection is a recipe for disaster. But punishments such as license revocation, probationary periods, and very steep fines would help the problem.
I think that is definitely a start, something that we got to look at, and we've got to actually be able to enforce the fines. It's one thing to say we're doubling the fines, but how many people are getting those tickets? We got to work on that. Thanks so much for the call, Phil. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. How would you crack down on street takeovers? Everyone's looking for an idea. In Silmar, Monica Rodriguez wants to put up little barriers and bollards to make it harder to do donuts. In South LA, Supervisor Holly Mitchell wants to double the fines and also have more seminars in schools to tell the kids how bad street takeovers are. But if you were in charge, if you had the police at your disposal, how would you use them to crack down on these street takeovers so they stop destroying our neighborhoods? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones on your ideas how to crack down on street takeovers. 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Audrey in beautiful Huntington Beach. Audrey, hello.
Hello. I have a good solution. You know how they always show cars that were in DUI and they show on the side, and this will happen to you in DUI crash? How about taking a car, smash it, and say, if we take your car, this is what happens to your car afterwards at a street takeover.
There you go. Show them the car looking like a cube. Crush a thing. I love it,
Correct.
Audrey. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. I think the lien process is completely gone. I think that as soon as you're involved in one of these street takeovers and you're using your car to commit crimes, it's no longer your property. It's not your right, and we're going to crush it into a little tiny cube. I love it. Let's go to Suzanne in Mission Viejo. Suzanne, hello.
Hey, Randy. You're so randy today.
Thank you.
I had a thought that, the kids just need a place to go. So what about street close-offs that are permitted? What about having, police and fire there, working overtime, keeping everybody safe? And I'm thinking American graffiti coming back.
I love the spirit of that, but unfortunately, the kids that are attending these things, they care more about the fact that it's illegal than the people doing the stunts. But it's something to think about. Thanks so much for the call, Suzanne. Appreciate it. And by the way, how do we get that insured? And the people that are driving these things, we know they're doing it unsafely. How do you safely skid and crash into buildings? I don't know, but we're thinking here. If you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to you next. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones on how we should be cracking down on street takeovers. Let's go to Lawrence in Cerritos. Lawrence, hello.
Hey, guys. It's been a while. I think, first of all, since there is an organization of what these kids are doing, start throwing components of the RICO Act on them. They're engaged in an organized crime, confiscate their vehicles, their bikes, hold their parents brutally responsible financially, and delay them getting a driver's license at least till they're 18. And at 18, it would be upon review after successfully completing safety courses.
That's definitely one step. And yeah, for all the minors that are involved, it's time to go after the parents because that is unacceptable parenting right there. And we have to pay for all of that. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Let's go to Morris in Hollywood. Morris, hello.
Yes, I've heard your previous callers with suggestions, and unfortunately, most of the ideas they have will not work. You have to remember the car is a weapon. It is a killing machine. And the way you handle that is the airships. The police need target practice. Bring out an AK-47.
Okay, we're definitely not doing that, Morris. We here at 790 KABC would never advocate for shooting people at a street takeover. That is a terrible idea. We would be sued to oblivion, and we could hurt innocent people. That's not a solution for this. I cannot be any clearer. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Yeah, Randy, I agree. You shouldn't criminalize copper or catalytic converters or street takeovers. In fact, I like the public school approach. I recently joined a group called ARGE, Angels of Restorative Justice, and our motto borrows from La Cañada School Superintendent Wendy Sinet's published theory of restorative justice. Empathy, community, and relationships. And so far, only 3 of our members have been beaten up or run over.
Well, there's one aspect to it. Thanks so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. I think we've had a lot of really good ideas, one really bad idea, but there definitely has to be more done to this, and it has to be a top-down approach. We've got to get everybody involved. And I think the CHP has to take a much bigger interest in this as well, because we just don't have the staff at LAPD or the Sheriff's Department to deal with these things, especially considering most of them happen late at night, and we need our people on the streets during the day preventing all the other crime. But there's definitely something that can be done here, and I think we've got to be a lot tougher on not just all the people who are making the stunts and driving like crazy, not only the people filming it and organizing, but anyone that shows up. This is not allowed behavior. You want to go watch a bunch of crazy stunts, go watch a movie. If you're there for illegal activity and the bafflingness of setting all the cars on fire after you did the donuts, no, that's unacceptable, and we got to do something about it. So we'll continue to follow this because I don't think the street takeovers are ending anytime soon, but I love picking your brain. This audience has a lot of fantastic ideas, and we love hearing them. Thanks so much for the calls, everyone. If you ever miss an episode of the show, get the podcast. Go to KABC.com/newsblitz or search for the News Blitz wherever you get your podcasts. See you tomorrow for another News Blitz on KABC.